pretty simple. I win.
Hello, guys, and welcome to Indiana Sports Connection. So, I already see we got some comments in here, but we're going to talk about the Indiana game last night. It was definitely not what we wanted to see, and it's very disappointing. I am very disappointed from watching it, but we're going to talk about the game and how it played out and everything like that. I don't want to get too much into what the cascading effects of this is. We all watched the game. They did not play well. Tucker DeVries did not shoot the ball well. Tatum Conaway was probably our best option on offense at times. And we'll just talk about everybody, like who has to play better. Like they got to play more physical and they got to be more ready to play in a game like this. I mean, it's got to be a huge wake-up call to a lot of these guys who come from mid-major schools, these type of places. And it's just not like that at mid-major schools. Even Tucker DeVries, I mean, he has only just a limited sample size playing, for West Virginia at the beginning of last year. And, doesn't have a lot of experience playing in these types of places. And, you got to hand it to Minnesota what Medved did there. And, they ran some pretty good stuff on offense. And he had those guys ready to play. We'll talk about it all, and I know Minnesota had players out, so they were playing a lot of backups. So that even adds more to fuel to the fire. But this is Indiana Sports Connection, and I have a couple of clips of Darian Devries. We'll talk about what he said in the press conference afterwards, and everything like that, and where they're going to go from here. But if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button down below. Leave your comments on the side. This is a live video, and leave your comments down below. I want to hear from you. I've been reading a lot of comments, what people had to say. Everybody has a lot of great points. It's just the coach has to get it corrected. So leave your comments. What did you see in the game? What did you think? Indiana, are they too heavily reliant on just two players to score? But that's how this team is built. We're going to talk about that too. And hit that thumbs up button. Gets the video out to more Hoosier fans across the country, across the globe. And you did all of that good stuff. And now let's get into talking about the Indiana Hoosiers here and what happened in the game last night. The first clip, I do want to play a clip real quick of what DeVries had to say after the game just listen to the question, and this is what he had to say after it.
It was going to happen at some point, but the main thing now is now that you've lost one is how do you respond and what happens in that locker room on the practice floor as you get ready for the next game, because there's a lot of really good games we're going to have this year, and every night's going to be a fight just like this. So we have a group that's pretty connected. We got some guys that played a lot of basketball, so I expect them to come ready and to respond and be ready for Saturday.
And that was something I thought was most important. This was a terrible game for IU. They really underperformed, play like crap. It is what you do from here on out. I'm sure, DeVries seems pretty pissed off about the effort at times. Although I'm going to say our problems from before are not the problems we have now. I mean, the effort was there. It seemed like at times where it just seemed like guys were almost stuck in the mud. Minnesota was being more physical. And that, brings me to two guys. Sam Alexis played a halfway decent game, scored 10 points. But, Reed Bailey has to do better under the basket. I like his skill set. I like what he does. But when he gets against better competition, and he had a couple of games, like the game against Kansas State, I believe, where he had a much better game. And it's just being a little bit stronger with the ball, stronger going to the basket. And speaking of that, I'm going to say, if I was the coach of this team, I would say, if anybody on this team goes up for a dunk in the open court and it goes off the back iron, you're going to be running up and down to the balcony and back over and over again during practice. That is one of the most annoying things to me. Tucker DeVries, he got a great steal, but he kind of let off the gas a little bit at the end. I mean, at his size, 6'7", he should be able to lay the ball in right there. But missing the dunk in the open court, it is just one of the most frustrating plays to watch in all of basketball. So, I mean, we've seen that Connerway do it. We've seen Devries do it. And I think Wilkerson did it once. Like, there's no shame in if you're not athletic enough or you don't feel like you got it in you to dunk the ball right there. Don't dunk it, you know? Yeah, and they were a soft serve. That is like all you can really say. I mean, they seem like, and then the next clip he talks about, because there were stretches in the first half. I really thought Indiana was gonna kind of go out to a bigger lead because Indiana took a lead there at like 29-22, and it kind of looked like in the last 5 minutes of the first half they were going to extend it, and that was just kind of where they kept letting Minnesota right back in the game. And I mean, partially the steal by DeVries and the missed dunk, and then they got 2 points on the other end. I mean, that's a 4-point swing right there. And because you're letting a dunk go free, I mean, you're not able to get your defense set up. But the next clip, DeVries kind of talked about that section of the game because I thought there were sections of this game, and even coming up to the very end, I kind of thought Indiana was going to pull this game out when Tucker DeVries hit some of his 3-pointers at the end, and they got within 3 points. But this is what Coach DeVries had to say about what happened during that stretch on defense.
I thought early definitely was the case, and then I thought we had a stretch in the first half where, we came out of the timeout and we really got into the ball. We increased our physicality. We took a lead, 29-22. Got a steal, went down and got it blocked, and then they came back and scored. But there were just a lot of little things that matter, winning, free throw box outs and some things like that, making free throws, like a lot of things that we've done really well for the most part this year. That when you're in conference play and you're in games like that, those possessions are so golden. So you gotta value every little aspect of the game and of basketball. When there's a couple of out of bounds plays there where we had missed some assignments, and those 1, 2, 3 baskets, that they matter, and that's something hopefully we'll really be able to take from this.
And with Tucker in those situations where maybe the team's kind of.
All right, yeah, I mean, I do like that. At least he's like, as a coach, he has more awareness of like how the game went, and just talks about it more like verbatim. Like, yeah, that Indiana had a good stretch there, but then they did kind of like run out of gas on the intensity level. And that brings up one of my cards over here. Because, I mean, this team does not have a ton of depth. And the extra guys they played last night, I mean, Dorn and Ristic just were, like, completely invisible out there. So, I mean, this team, they have got to find somebody else. I mean, it seemed in a couple, like, one of Dorn's shots, I just did not think was a good shot for him. He was just off balance. So, getting, like, goose eggs from those guys, and then Trent Sicily did not play very well in this game. He looked like a freshman. I mean, he got like 2 fouls, like real quick, and then they put him in the game for like 30 seconds, and then he got another foul, and he was out of the game. He has to be, he's a freshman, so that's to be expected out of him. But, when you got other guys like not being able to finish, because I must say, I mean, Lamar Wilkerson has to finish around the basket better, and Reed Bailey, we seem to be, and we know this is going to be one of our struggles. There are all these analytics out there of like what guys finish around the rim like the best, and Indiana has one of the worst teams as far as like guys that are just able to finish around the rim. We don't have a 6'6" guy. I mean, that is one thing. I love Lamar Wilkerson and his game. He does not like elevate very much when he's driving to the basket. He's more of like a gather 2-step Euro step type player and then trying to get the ball up. But that being said, Indiana, and they had opportunities right down the stretch. Like DeVries said in that clip, it's like, we get down to the last 5 minutes of the game. I think within the last 3 minutes, we had a lot of shots like right at the basket, and we just missed them in point blank range. I mean, that I think is you need more from your bench. You can't be that fatigued that late in the game. One of the questions like Nieselak asked during the press conference was about Tucker DeVries and how he could show more and do more intensity wise. I think it's just there's too much on him and Lamar Wilkerson's shoulders in a game like this where DeVries has a bad night. I think Lamar Wilkerson, he had a bad night too. He ended up with more points, but efficiency wise, it took him like 15 shots to score 14 points. So that's not a great night from him. Looking at that, I mean, he should score 30 points on that. And uh, Wilkerson made one big three in the corner, and I thought that was a spot where they were going to start rocking. But then right after that, no, he made a great shot fake on one of the 3-pointers. Wilkerson made a great shot fake, made one from like about the midway point, and then had a couple of wide open threes in the corner and missed them. I mean, you can't really ask for a much better shot than that. And Lamar Wilkerson is one of the greatest shooters in the country. So you're going to take that every time. Like he just missed a shot. I mean, sometimes that's the game right there. You know, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'll get to the comments here in just a minute. But yeah, it was just a bad night for Indiana. I will say, I mean, fans are going nuts and they have a right to somewhat, but I will say this, like, part of the frustration with like the Mike Woodson years, I think was how it was like almost like a continuation of Archie Miller's badness. We got to give this more time. I mean, and we're not giving it any time at all. They're 7-0. They lost their first Big Ten game, but I will say there have been. I mean, Kent Sterling said it this morning. It's like nobody since Branch McCracken has started out 7-0 at Indiana. I mean, we've seen other coaches come in and struggle and actually lose games to some of these like cupcake type schools. And Minnesota is one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. But by all accounts, and I said it yesterday, and I'm not trying to make excuses for them, it is hard to win on the road in the Big Ten. It is hard to win in the barn. It can be a tough place to shoot at. And Indiana had a bad shooting night there. And their defense was not good enough to save them. I mean, Minnesota did enough on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going to be honest, like there were some shots that I thought Minnesota that Crowder had and Asuma. And I thought they had a few shots where they just looked like they were chucking balls at the basket. There was one that banked in a weird way. Minnesota got some breaks. I mean, their talent didn't show up. I mean, sometimes you just get lucky on a certain shot, a certain time, and everybody knows it. So they got a few of those. And so you add this all up. It was a bad loss, a quad 3 loss. It's a terrible loss. I even agree with the people saying, well, you play all these cupcake schools. Look, Darian Devries only had a certain amount of time to try to get certain schools on the schedule. Like one thing that really diluted our team, like through these last like 2 years for sure, was that we played absolutely nobody in the non-conference a bunch of years. I mean, maybe Kansas and Arizona that one year, but you know, last year we had nobody on the schedule that was tough. And that's kind of went on. And I think he's in the works of getting more teams on the schedule. I've seen this for next year, and he hasn't announced the teams yet. But I do think Darian DeVries is of the ilk of coaching with all of these other guys like Dan Hurley and Matt Painter and Nate Oates, that early in the season you need to play like teams in the top 10. And I think as it goes by, I don't think Darian DeVries is going to be the type of coach where he's going to be like shying away from playing the top teams. I would love to play like 5 ranked teams before January 1st every single year. That would be fantastic. So, I mean, I do agree with you. We didn't play anybody. We played, Kansas State. And with the transfer portal, Marquette is awful. And Kansas State is not very good either. And Minnesota, I think, ranks like 144 in KenPom. They're not very good. But with the transfer portal and everything like that, I mean, he got those teams on the schedule, and but there's just no exact way to know how good those teams are going to be. Now, I mean, even Kentucky started out high this year. They don't look nearly as good. One thing is Louisville lost last night to Arkansas. So they are going to be fired up. The game on Saturday is going to be one where, both teams are going to be really out for blood in that game. So, but anything else to say about this game? It was soft. It was very soft. Court of public opinion. Yes, I've been seeing your comments all over. Um, Fortunately, this will go down as a bad loss. Yeah, quad 3 loss. Yeah, I mean, there's no other way around it. We've played a bunch of cupcakes, and now if we go out there and we beat Louisville, that that should go a long way towards. I like this major turd last night. Yeah, it was a turd Ferguson for sure, and it was like soft serve. It was like soft serve ice cream out there for sure. Offensively, we play 4-on-5. Yeah, and that is one thing. Connor Enright, I love what he does on defense. I see why they want him on the team. I see that. But in a game like this where your best two players are not getting the production that you need, he doesn't really provide much in the way of like offensive skill. He's a good passer. I will say he's a good passer, and he plays really tough on defense. But it's almost like you need one more guy. Now, and I wrote down here, like late in the game, it was like Connor Way really seemed like our best option. He got to the rim a couple of times. And Connor Way, I believe he ended up with 18 points in this. But for Indiana, this team is not. We have a different problem than we had with the team like last year. Like we don't have all of this like breadth of high level talent out there. I mean, we don't have um, you know, big guys under the rim that you can just dump the ball down to, and they're gonna dump the ball in the basket. So, I mean, this team really needs to like win off of being connected, intensity, and like playing together as a team and moving the ball more. And you can see in a game like this where it just turns into a real slog of a game. It's hard to keep moving the ball. Guys start to turn inward. You can see guys even like Tate Connerway, who, by the way, I mean, he came from a great program, like how he took Troy to the tournament. But you do see guys start to turn inward and start to play hero ball and think they're going to do it by themselves. Even a few of Tucker DeVries shots where he backed the guy down and seemed forced. Reed Bailey, I mean, some of the shots he took around the basket, I just wished he would have made the shots. And he is not the stretch player that I think we thought he would shoot more 3-pointers or drive the ball more. I just struggle with him game to game. He's kind of had like a one good game and one bad game. And so far, Indiana, the way that they're rotating him and Alexis is almost like Reed Bailey plays 20 minutes and Alexis, if you look at the past few games, they're kind of like splitting time. I will say the one dude on Sleepers, and I was just watching their show. They were talking about, he watched a lot of West Virginia games, and he said, I'll take his word for it, that DeVries is a real mastermind when it comes to rotations and that type of thing. So, like, will DeVries come up with and get some other guys like inserted into this lineup, maybe from the bench? What we saw like out of Ristic and Dorn last night, absolute goose eggs from those guys. So you really kind of want to find somebody, another shooter, another guy that can score off the bench, like somebody that can fill in. And I don't know if that guy is there, really, to tell you the truth. I mean, this team at this point is kind of what it is. It's like they're going to move the ball. They're going to play small ball, and they're going to live and die by the 3-point shot. And sometimes we'll be way overmatched inside. Minnesota killed us on the rebounds as well in this game. They ended up, I think it was 45-30. They out rebounded us in this game. But yeah, let me take a look at it here. It says 36-22, but I saw another one. It was, but whatever. But we got killed on the boards. We also had a terrible free throw shooting night. I mean, 12 of 20 is not great. Reed Bailey went to the line and missed a couple. I know it sounds like I'm just ripping Reed Bailey to all to hell here, but um, and then bench point. They beat us in the paint, which I thought in the second half, and I was saying it during the live stream. It's like we need to take the ball inside more on these guys and really get them in foul trouble. And we kind of started to do that, but every time we would start in on something like that, it seems like something else would go against us or just something bad would happen. It was just one of those nights at the barn where it was just not good. Um, how to shoot free throws better. Um, End up 8 of 27 on threes, 29.6%. I mean, not a great shooting night by any means. So, and they were 8 of 21. So, I mean, they hit 8 and just were a lot more efficient from the 3-point line. Any games that go like that. And, this game was pretty close going right down to the wire where I thought Indiana could win it. But when another team is going to be that much more efficient, and then field goal percentage, I mean, they gave up Minnesota shot 48.9%. So, I mean, Indiana just didn't play well on defense. They had spurts where they really seemed connected, like DeVries said in that clip. But just overall, it was just Minnesota's night. I'm not going to sit here and say they got to fire the coach and do all this stuff. We're 7 games into this. We're kind of seeing, and somebody said it in the comments, we had 2 games where we didn't play our best offensive game and we still beat those cupcake schools by a reasonable margin. Now we see if you play a game like that against even like a school like Minnesota on the road, you will lose those games. And maybe a lot of these guys that have been at mid majors and that type of thing, when you're at those schools and you play a weaker team in your conference, they're not Minnesota. And I gotta say, Minnesota's coach did a really great job. I mean, you do have to hand it to Medved and through the Ben Johnson years, they really seemed dead. And Minnesota had 3 guys injured, and really, I thought there was a gritty performance by a lot of their guys, and they were just really taking it to Indiana. I mean, Crowder, Asuma, Grove, a lot of their big guys, even I thought it was going to be a turning point when they had to bring that big guy off the bench, and he was not experienced and he looked out of shape. But he had a nice block on Lamar Wilkerson. So, I mean, it kind of like that's one thing I feel like in this game, Wilkerson has to adjust his playing a little bit to. You're in the Big Ten. They're just more athletic players, guys around you that can block your shot. You either have to work on more of a floater or some way to get that ball like up over the outstretched hands of those type of defenders, because definitely were a lot of blocks on both sides in this game. Couple more comments here. Yeah, embarrassing loss, but have to push on. Like, yeah, I don't remember Bob Knight, and Mike Woodson never lost there either. So, we got to give Mike Woodson his due. I remember a game where they really like gutted out a victory with Trace Jackson Davis there, but yeah, and this is the type of game that kills you in the metrics because it's one you were supposed to win and you ended up losing it. So Indiana will probably drop out of the top 25 and they'll probably lose some ground in Ken Palm. And now, did I say it was a bad loss? I just said they didn't really play their best game. I thought Louisville would beat Arkansas, and Louisville is favored in that game. So no, it wasn't a bad loss, but I'll tell you, like Pat Kelsey, he will have Louisville fired up like all hell if they lost the game to a team they thought they were going to win. Yes, this is what I definitely think. He needs to step up. I mean, and be more like he's just not really providing a lot anywhere. So would love to see him be able to do a little bit more out there. Happy Thursday, fellas. I slept that shit off, man. Yeah, he does need to be better. Oh, Bob Knight lost by 40 there in 1994 and put his bench in early to send a message. That sounds like the Bob Knight I know. I mean, he would sacrifice a game like that just to prove a point. And people always forget this, but I mean, there were times where people just really, really hated some of the stuff Bob Knight did. Like sometimes it was man-to-man defense, or if he was punishing players, you know, if it was something, he would do it to prove a point. But you know, this one, honestly, RELAX. Like, it's going to be okay. This team is going to move on. I think this team is going to get into the tournament. I think in the Big Ten, they'll be right there around 7, 8, 9 in that range, maybe. And that's good enough. Big Ten will probably get like 12 teams in this year. They are really strong from top to bottom. It's going to be tough. But Minnesota has done this. Dusty May lost there. I saw somebody say that. Minnesota is notorious. There will be 2 or 3 teams this year. Now Indiana's one of them that Minnesota will pick off when they go there. And it's just the name of the game. It's the Big Ten. And there's just really nothing else to say about it. It was a bad night for IU, a cold shooting night, just a drubbing of like a quarry of different things came cascading down on them at the same time. And it's easy for us to sit here and say, oh God, like, you know, coach should have done this and coach should have done that, or the players should have done. But in this game, I don't think it was effort. I don't think it was all that. I just believe it was, you know, you got to give it to Minnesota. So, but thank you guys for showing up today. We'll be making a video tomorrow talking about I was going to make it today, but I just have limited time. But tomorrow I'll be making a video about the Ohio State Indiana game and just what I think about how it's going to stack up with all of those guys and what I think Indiana needs to do. And then we'll preview the Louisville game some tomorrow as well, because all of that coming up on Saturday, one of the biggest days in IU sports history, just in the city of Indianapolis with all of that stuff going on. So that will be fantastic. And look, Indiana, they win that game against Louisville this weekend. Totally forget about this game. You know, you got to just like grind this thing out possession by possession. And I think that is one thing Darian Devries and this team is like anxious to do. Even in that game, they did fight to the very end, but just came up a little bit short. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. Until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.